This is our Tea Time Talk for the Declutter Your Life and Reduce Your Stress class. And this is a lot of fun. This is actually one of my favorite classes to teach because we find out some very interesting things about the folks that are in the same room with us. So there is a little thing. Harvey mentioned the last tea time. He asked me, he said, so do you give us a great big packet when we come to the declutter class? All my classes have a great big packet, and if we're trying to declutter, why are you possibly giving us another piece of clutter? The rule with this packet is you are to use it, find the information that you need out of it, and pass it on to somebody else or recycle it. That's how it works. So I don't want you keeping it in your hand for a whole year. I want you to use it and figure out what you need to do with it and go from there.
You can't just go in the stack of the papers that I got.
Yeah, no, and we're going to help you with that. We're not going to have a stack of paper anymore. So this class is a lot of fun. I used to actually be called the Queen of Clutter, and you can ask my mom about that. She used to call me the tornado as well. Because when I was a little kid, my sister and I shared a bedroom, and we had bunk beds in our room, and my sister, as a kid, and still now, she was always very, very clean, and everything had a place, everything had, this went here, this went there. I, on the other hand, like to look at my treasures, and so I would dig them all out of the closet, and there were many times that there were seriously just a pathway to our beds, and that was it. But the reason Mom called me a tornado is because I learned very young how to be very organized too. And so I'd make these big swaths as I cleaned the room and picked up all my toys and put them where they went and did everything, and it just gleamed behind me. And so Ember and I were just talking about it earlier. We did a Christmas party a few years ago, and we had an activity that everybody was to say one positive thing about each person in the room and put it in a cup. And so out of 6 people that were in the room, I had 4 little pieces of notes that my positive word was that I was extremely organized. But Amber and I were talking about it, and that is a very good thing. And so being organized is part of the problem with clutter. So I am truly organized now. Everything that I do, and you can go into my office, everything is nice and tidy and right where it's supposed to be. I learned that by getting rid of that clutter, it's actually helping me be more efficient in the other things that I need to do. So I still miss some of the stuff that I've gotten rid of over the years, but it's wonderful having that feeling of not having so much stuff. And I'm going to give you guys that joy too. So that's what our topic is today. So I have a little thing here for you. Did you know that the self-storage industry is primarily in the United States? The rest of the world doesn't know what self-storage is really. So in the year of 2009, there were 58,000 self-storage units, and 46,000 of those belong to us. So we like our stuff, we keep our stuff. It equates to about $6.6 billion in sales for people that own storage units. And if you think of it in a land mass equivalent, it's 2.35 billion square feet, or about 3 times Manhattan Island size. So that's just storage stuff. That's just stuff that we're storing, not stuff that we're using. So our history shows that there was storage in ancient China, but it didn't really actually start really appearing until 1958. You have any idea where it first showed up? Any guess? Florida. Fort Lauderdale. Retirees. The folks that were moving down to Florida, they were bringing the snowbirds were bringing their stuff with them, and they needed a place to keep it. And so that's where it started. And then in the late 60s, the actual chains actually opened in Texas. And so modern storage facilities have opened just mass quantity year after year. So between 2000 and 2005, 3,000 new facilities have been built in America. So there is just, and you drive down the street and you see storage units. There's just a ton of them. So we like our stuff and we keep it. We even have shows, reality shows about people that have too much stuff. Some of us feel bad for these people. Some of us are these people. And we think about all the different stuff that we actually store. So these days we're looking for different ways to actually reduce our stress, and by reducing our clutter, they've done studies that have found that clutter causes stress, and stress causes mental fatigue and illness. And so by getting rid of some of that clutter, you're actually getting rid of some of your stress. So our homes and our offices actually should be a place to relax and find enjoyment in it. And sometimes we don't always do that. So these are just some little clutter facts here. Like I said at the very beginning, it really isn't about the clutter, it's about the disorganization of the clutter. So 80% of the clutter in our homes are simply because they don't have a place to live. They don't know where they belong. An average home, getting rid of clutter eliminates 40% of housework. Would you be okay with 40% less housework? So one of the other little things that I gave you guys is the life raft exercise. This little life raft exercise, you don't have to do it in here. I want you to take it home with you. But what the life raft exercise is if you remember correctly, when they first started doing the tiny house, when they were moving the 2 great big adults and their 2 teenage children and their 4 dogs and the 250 square feet tiny home, they had to get all of their possessions into a raft that they would take into their home. They couldn't take any more than that. It had to be able to float. That was the mass that they could put in there. So this idea is to figure out the things that are most valuable to you. I'm not telling you you're going to have to get rid of all the rest of it, but what this does is this gives you can do a list here. It says try to limit your possessions to 50, 100, or 150, whatever you do. But think about how many things in your life that you have to have. If you had a fire or something happened, what would you grab and what would you replace if something happened? This is a really good exercise when you start thinking about it and doing it. Once you've got it all down, this is a good start to an insurance inventory. So a lot of folks don't have insurance inventories and they think, well, we're insured, we have so much money that we're insured for our stuff. If something were to happen, the insurance company is going to cut us a check. Not exactly how it works. So you have to prove that you owned it, and you have to tell them what year you bought it so that they know how much the depreciated value is, and you have to be able to list it. So when insurance companies turn around and tell you, go ahead and make a list or take a video or take pictures, they're really telling you to do that for you, not for them. They don't care about the video. They want to make sure that you know how much stuff you have in there. This other thing is that there was a little guy, and he was in China. Hi there.
Hi. I thought you ran out of seats.
We did. Did you sign up?
I did.
You did? Okay. Well, go ahead and come on over here, and Amber, can you grab a couple chairs?
Oh,
How do you feel about that?
good.
Apologies for the interruption.
Is everyone to sit over there?
Yeah, I think we can put one more.
So one of the other things that this little guy did is he was from China, and he had a ton of stuff. He had all sorts of things in his house, lots of collections, everything. And he decided that he had too much stuff, and he was spending too much time taking care of the things that he owned versus doing the things that he wanted to be doing. And so he decided that he was going to go and get rid of everything. And he stripped all of his stuff down to 150 possessions. That was it. Including his email account, his checking account, his underwear, his dishes, his pots, his pans, everything. And he reduced the space in his household. It went from being that he was spending 4 hours of cleaning his home to down to 5 minutes. And so he learned all these different things. But one of the things that stood out to me, what he said in the interview, was that the amount of freedom that came from that was just enormous. Because he didn't need or want anything. He had everything that he needed. And so I'm not telling you to drop everything down to 150 items. I'm telling you to think about the things that are important to you, and that will give you the things that you need. So most of Americans only use about 20% of what they actually own. The other 80% of items are made up of things they think they should use, they don't use, or they feel like they're going to use them someday, so they put them aside. So 23% of adults say that they pay bills late simply because they lose them. They set them aside. The Center for Disease Control actually said that 80% of our medical expenditures are related to stress. And stress, again, what I said before, stress causes medical conditions to actually be worse, and clutter causes stress. So 25% of people with 2-car garages do not park any of their cars in the garage, and 32% only park one. Anybody have a garage in here? You actually park a vehicle in it. You park one, but you have a 2-car garage? Okay. And see, a lot of times, and there's no judgment in here, I want you guys to know that, even though we're videotaping.
My grandson's project car from when he was a senior in high school is in my garage.
There you go.
I park in the carport because it's easier. I don't have to walk up a bunch of stairs.
Well, there you go.
House.
So that happens a lot, is a lot of times garages become our extra storage unit. So 71% of poll participants said that the quality of their life would be improved if they were just a little bit better organized. So what today's objectives are. I am going to help you determine if you have a challenge with clutter in your home. Then if you have a challenge, we're going to identify ways to deal with it. Then we're going to share ideas on how to eliminate some of your clutter. And we're going to restore your balance and peace of mind, just for a little bit. So if the tea doesn't do it and the chocolate cookies, So my very favorite definition here of clutter is anything you own, possess, or do that does not enhance your life on a regular basis. Now, the other day I saw my boss and I told him I didn't want to go to his meeting, that it was totally clutter. He did not find the humor in that. But so that's one thing, though, is that you think about what you're doing in your life, whether it's your email, sometimes it's email that we're getting, or meetings, or maybe even relationships that we have, that it's not always possessions. Clutter is a lot of stuff. So what happens when clutter becomes a concern is when it becomes a safety issue. So when there's a lot of clutter that's stacking on the floor, or you just don't have a place for everything and you're not quite sure where to put it, or maybe you just haven't been in a room for a while. I have a client that he's a little old guy. He's about 80 years old, and he had a little girlfriend for 17 years, and she was storing all of her stuff in one of his spare rooms. And so she had stored all of her stuff in this room for 17 years. Well, a new little girlfriend came along and didn't like it that the old girlfriend had her stuff in his house. So she said, she needs to move her stuff out of your house. And so as this little guy was starting to clean out the room and get rid of the stuff, he found out that he had been living with a pack of rats for quite some time. And they had actually chewed through his wall and had chewed through his electrical. So the fact that they hadn't started a fire, he had no idea. But the problem is with clutter attracts things that we don't necessarily want. So even if we've got stuff sitting out in storage, you've got bugs, you've got snakes, you've got all sorts of stuff that can get into our stuff. So getting into your clutter is not necessarily a safe thing. So our lives become too complicated because of our stuff. Sometimes we have time and space issues. We don't know what to do with our stuff. So this same little girlfriend, the 17-year girlfriend, she had 4 other storage units that she had completely packed full of stuff. And she just didn't know what to do with it. She became overwhelmed by her stuff. Another story that I share is another little guy that he had a storage unit. I'm going to let you guys do the math here. He had a storage unit. He was paying $100 a month for the storage unit, and inside that storage unit, he'd had it for 10 years, was a washer and a dryer. That was it. So how much is that washer and dryer worth in that 10 years that they haven't been running? And he's been paying $100 a month. So we have to think about the stuff that we're actually storing, and if we're not going to visit it and we're not using it, how much do we need it? So that overcommitment, it's one thing that I've been telling our staff a lot, is it's okay to say no. No is an acceptable answer. So sometimes we become overcommitted by the things that we're doing, and so really being able to just do a little bit less. Not that you're not supposed to do stuff, but just think about what you're doing. Our delayed decisions, we have an endless stream of decisions of the things that we need, what to keep, what to get rid of, where to store things, where to put things. So one of our next tea time talks that we're going to be doing is organizing your financial paperwork. And this one is a really good one because it tells you exactly what you need to keep. What do you need to keep and what do you need to get rid of, and how do you find the stuff that you don't have? So if you haven't signed up for that class, make sure that you email me so that we have enough spots for everybody. Fear, insecurity, and sadness. This one's a big one. A lot of times the things that we have belong to somebody that we loved, and we can't quite get rid of them. Another story that came out of Gritman is I had a little gal that she had 4 family members. Their lives changed very quickly. She had 3 family members that passed away and 1 that moved into a long-term care facility. All of the stuff came to her. She lived in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and all of the stuff was piled in her garage and everywhere else. She couldn't get anywhere near where she needed to go. So the idea is picking the things that mean something to you and that have some value. So not just keeping everything and worrying about that guilt. The lack of system, again, just not having that organization path. You just have to think of what the best system is going to be for you, and I'm going to tell you some systems here in a little bit. The urge to buy. This one is a big one. Who needs 2 silver bullet blenders? Anybody? But that is what happens on TV, is that they turn around and they say, if you act now, you get not only 1, but 2 blenders for the price of 1, just purchasing and handling on top of that. we're constantly urged to buy all of this stuff, even things that we don't necessarily need. So how do we say no more? So there is a clutter challenge. The challenge is to take stock of what we have and to simplify and downsize and give ourselves a little peace of mind. So in your packets, you guys don't have to do it now, but there is a quiz that's called the Clutter Quotient. And it tells you where you have the strongest challenge with your clutter. So do the Clutter Quotient when you have some time, but we're going to play. This is our fun slide. We're gonna do some fun stuff here. So these are the top types of clutter. So the travel clutter. The travel clutter are souvenirs that you get on a special vacation and you can't bear to throw them away. Anybody have some of those? Okay. It used to be important clutter. This is keys that don't work, clothes that don't fit, and toys that no one plays with anymore. Anybody have some of those? The phony clutter, or what I call poser clutter, is stuff posing as a bargain, such as things that you got at a garage sale or 2-for-1 deals that you had to have. Inheritance clutter. This is anything someone gave you because they didn't know what to do with it, such as video collections or mom's old dishes. So I tell the story on my mom and my sister. My sister has a nice home that has a lot of storage, and my mom has a smaller home that doesn't have so much storage. And so we get tired of our stuff and we say, here, why don't you take it for a little while? And then pretty soon we start thinking about it and say, okay, I want it back. And we go back and forth. I've told my sister that she doesn't need to do that with me anymore. If I give it to her, I'm done. And she can get rid of it however she wants to do it. But that's what happens with inheritance clutter, is a lot of times family members give you something with the idea that you're going to keep it forever. So we don't necessarily need to do that. Bequeath clutter. Stuff you got as presents that you simply cannot get rid of, because somebody is going to come and ask you where the dolphin is that has the big lights and everything on it, that's a lamp, and you know that they're going to come and ask for that and want to see where it's at. So rabbit clutter. Anybody have an idea what rabbit clutter is?
Clutter that multiplies quickly?
It's what?
Multiplies quickly?
Oh, she wins a prize. You get a cookie. So that's it. It's clutter that multiplies fast. It's stuff like Beanie Babies, fabric or needlework kits. So a lot of times we like to keep our fabric and stuff because we know we're going to do other projects, or we're doing something with our things that it just keeps multiplying. Books are another thing. So I always usually get raised eyebrows when I start talking about rabbit clutter, because everybody has rabbit clutter. So imposter clutter. That is clutter disguised as good stuff, such as musical instruments nobody plays anymore, outdated cameras, video equipment, or electronics. So stuff that just kind of gets tucked in the back of the closet we don't really use anymore. We also have ambiance clutter. This is household accessories that you put away after you've changed your decorating scheme. And this happens a lot. People decide, oh, we're going to flip out pillows or shower curtains or something like that. Let's tuck the other one away. About 99% of the time, you're never going to go back to the old one. You're not going to. So let that one go. The get to it someday clutter. This is anything that you need to fix, finish, or get to someday. So you know that you're going to get to that pile. This is the same thing with newspaper articles. I can guarantee you that if you don't get to the news today, there's going to be bad news tomorrow. So just throw that newspaper away or recycle it. Don't just stack newspapers or magazine articles that you think you're going to read. You will not get to them. It just doesn't happen that way. we're busy, and that's part of that clutter, and it clutters your mind. If you think that there's something that you need to be doing, even if it's just reading an article, it's going to stay up there as being in that list of something that you need to do. Get rid of that clutter. Just let it go if you're not going to read it at the time. The eclectic clutter. This is miscellaneous clutter such as stuff in your drawers you don't know what to do with, clothes that still fit but don't match anything else, and those lone socks or gloves that you're not quite sure what to do with, but you can't part with them because the other one will show up. So these are the junk drawers. So how many have a junk drawer in here? Or a junk closet? Or a junk room?
All of the above.
Car clutter. So like I said in the very beginning, car clutter is fast food bags, empty water bottles, bits and pieces of handouts from programs that you've attended, broken car scrapers, and old maps. So the rule is that with your packet here, use it and then share it with somebody else. But don't hold on to it or use it as a doorstop or something else. Make sure that you're grabbing the stuff out of it and then get rid of it. Next one, Bob Hope clutter. Anybody know what Bob Hope clutter is?
Specifically, no.
Thanks for the memories. These are love letters, honeymoon matchbooks, and baby's first birthday cards. You guys want to hear the gross story? Or you're drinking your tea and eating your coffee? I don't want to upset anybody, but it is a gross story. So, okay, I'm going to go with you. Betty, you're telling me yes, you want it.
Oh, heavens, yes.
Gross
So,
us out with clutter.
Yeah. I was teaching this precious little lady, and she looked at me after I told her the Bob Hope clutter, and she looked at me and she said, "So honey, are you saying that I'm not supposed to keep my dog's baby teeth?" And she was sitting on my bad side, and I thought, she must have said daughters, and I misunderstood her. And so I bent over and I said, "Did you say your daughter's baby teeth?" And she said, "No, I have a puppy and he has lost all of his baby teeth and I've collected them." And I said, "I was not aware that puppies had baby teeth." "Oh yes, they do, and they're very, very sharp, but most people don't know that they have baby teeth because they swallow them." And I said, "Okay." And all I could see is this little lady in the backyard with her hose. And that is what she had done. Since I have told this story, I've found 3 other people that collect their dog's baby teeth. So apparently it's not an anomaly. They collect them in different ways and different reasons. They're their babies, so I get it, and I'm not passing judgment. I think it's just very interesting the things that people collect, and so we just want to make sure that they're collecting them in a way that they're put where they need to be. So anyway, it still kind of makes me a little bit queasy, but it is just what it is.
Is that kind of like a guy collecting a garage full of deer horns?
A little bit.
I know somebody that had, and I went in the garage and like you know, you had a loft in the garage and it's like solid deer horns, elk horns, everything horns. I mean, they're valuable though because people pay for them, but and also decoration. I mean, they use it for everything, but it's like there's a lot of deer horns. It was like
That he's going to use someday.
no,
Yeah.
it's his memories. It's his
Yeah.
trophy
Yeah.
of what his hunt memories
Or
of his
more
hunt.
than one
And
of these.
that's awesome. That's what makes us all so interesting and diverse and unique and everything. So I'm not saying anything bad about, because I have probably things that are weird to other people too. But it's what we do with them and how we make sure that we're keeping them where they need to be. And so like what we talked about a couple weeks ago when we were talking about who gets Grandma's yellow pie plate, we were talking about not having collections that our kids or our relatives are going to have to take care of when we don't need it anymore. So making sure that they don't come across a bunch of dog baby teeth that, and what is this? You know, it's, so making sure that we know what things are and having everything pretty much clutter-free. So next one is snob clutter, and none of us should have snob clutter. And the reason why is this is crystal vases, silver platters, or silver tea sets. These are the things that we don't use. So if you have these things, use them. Use them on a daily basis. Don't have this clutter that they have a bunch of dust on them. If you've got them, use them. The mysterious clutter. This is objects you find and you don't know what they are, but they must go to something really important so you don't throw them away. So, then I had one more to add to the bottom here, and that's your email clutter. So a lot of times we have a lot of email clutter. If you leave, they've done studies on this too, if you leave your inbox with tons and tons of emails, you need to clean out that clutter. Your inbox should be clean every day when you're done with your email. So whether that's even putting in a to-do for tomorrow or something, just cleaning your inbox. Yes, ma'am.
I got this intuitive answer to the email problem, and I keep my trash folder always, if I log out, the trash stays.
Uh-huh.
So I log onto my email account through a browser, I hit delete on everything. It goes straight to the trash.
That's good.
And then I go through it and the spam goes. I just hit delete on the spam immediately, another set of spam, and then whatever's left, I either process or I log out and then I come back and look through the trash. It's kind of decluttering habit, pre-decluttering.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you can
And once I hit delete in that trash bin, it's gone.
You can find all sorts of different ways that you get rid of your trash, or you help yourself get rid of your trash. It doesn't necessarily even need to be something that you do. You can have a system set up so that it just does it for you automatically. That's awesome. So, okay, so how to start?
Can I say something about it?
Yes.
I think you can go too far on the clutter. It happened to me and my family. Here's how it happened. I was working overseas, and my grandfather died. And I remembered when I was growing up, I crawled in our attic, a little ladder there, and I got up in the attic. And he had this big suitcase, and I had a flashlight, and I'd go look through it, and it was like photos of all his family coming from Germany and going to school and everything. I was just fascinated by that. So when I came back, my first question was to my parents, my dad was the son. I said, did you get that suitcase from Grandpa? No, he says, Aunt Esther got it, I think. So I called Aunt Esther, which is his daughter, and I said, did you get that? Oh, no, I thought your parents did. So I went down to the old hotel where he was living and asked the guy there if they had that big suitcase of my grandfather. He said, you know, we kept that for 6 months. Nobody came after it, so we threw it all away. So it was considered clutter, I guess.
Yeah.
So you can go too far.
And that's the hard part, is knowing what the clutter is. So, you know, I had a little gal that she talked about this story, almost the same story, but she was on the other end of it. She had suitcases and boxes and everything that all of her family left to her, but she had no idea who any of these people were that were in the pictures. And so she didn't know what to do with them. And so it's figuring out what to do with the clutter. And I'm sorry, Harvey, that's a heartbreaking story. There's everybody's idea of what clutter is a different thing. And so we want to make sure that we know that.
I was very lucky because my father and my mother, even though they were divorced when I was 9 months old, they stayed friends all the rest of her life. And then I'll tell this real quick. I told my father one time, he says, well, we didn't do too bad a job with our yours, mine, and ours family because I've got a stepsister and a half-sister with he and my stepmother, and I've got 5 half-brothers from my mother and my stepfather. He said, you 3 girls are still married to your same husbands, and all of my grandchildren are gainfully employed or still in school. Fine. I said, I don't know, Dad, I thought I was the most deprived child of divorced parents, and he was horrified. I said, what do you mean? I said, you and my mother stayed friends, and I could never work one of you against the other. That was the best pair of divorced parents I think I've almost ever heard of, because they stayed friends, communicated all the rest of her life.
Yeah.
But my dad had a collection of National Geographic going back to like 1909 or 1910, every single month. And he gave my children and I a subscription to the National Geographic that I continued to pay for after his death, and I thought, I'm not reading these. Like Dad used to, when the Geographic came, and I'd spend that Saturday, that weekend with them. He would read the National Geographic or go through and we'd discuss the pictures, and we read articles to it. So I've got some of those old ones, but not very many.
And like we talked about a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Grandma's yellow pie plate, and my little puppy teeth lady, she also told another story, and she was the gal that she was very excited about this because she had a room in her house that she had never let her daughter go into. It was locked. And her daughter was going to be super excited about this because she had been collecting English magazines since she was a young girl. And they were just stacked floor to ceiling in this room, and that was all that was in this room. And so it's really important when we think about what our clutter is, what our treasures are, that when it comes time for someone else to come in and take care of our clutter, is that clutter going to be as valuable to them as it is to you? And is it going to be taken care of the way that you want it to be taken care of? And so, and that's where some of this starts, is that guilt of keeping keepsakes from deceased relatives. Holding on to those things means that you're showing that respect to that family member. So sometimes we just have to ask ourselves a couple questions. If we get rid of these things, or we downsize and we just keep one thing that belongs to the family member, is there another family member that might be getting some better use out of that item? Could you give it to them? Would that relative actually be using that item, or would they be shaking their head on a white puffy cloud saying, what are you doing? That was junk. I was going to throw it away. You know, that's one thing that you need to think about. Do you have other keepsakes from that family member? A lot of times people have a very difficult time downsizing closets. They don't want to get rid of clothing. And so sometimes downsizing that closet is the first step. I might need it, and it's hard to let it go. These are another thing. You know that the second you throw it away, that's the minute you're going to need it. So there's always a place that you can get something to replace most things. So there's very few things are irreplaceable. There just hasn't been time, and I don't know where to start. So in your packets, I am giving you guys a place to start. The very front page of your packet, on the very back, so the title page, is 52 Weeks to a Decluttered You. It's the very front page. And so every week, it tells you exactly what you need to do to start the clutter process. And you just go through this, and so you start with cleaning out a kitchen drawer or cleaning out a closet or something, and then it's not such an overwhelming task. Even if you make yourself appointments, so that you just make an appointment today, and this is what I'm going to do for today, eventually you'll get through the whole process, and your clutter will be gone. So we're urged to buy things every day. We talked about that before. So just think about the things that you just absolutely, totally have to have. And if you're going to be using it in a month or a year or 10 years from now, is it something that you really absolutely have to have? If you do not know where to put something, just go ahead and set it aside. So if you're putting something in your cart and you don't know exactly where it's going to go when you go home, don't put it in your cart. So they've done other research studies that they've found that the lighting in stores is just optimal. Stores are the most amazing marketing place ever. From where they place product to the music that they play and the comfort level of the aisles that you walk on. But in stores, their lighting is just the optimal amount that when you're trying on clothing in stores, if you don't absolutely love it in the store, when you bring it home, you're not going to like it at all. So if you try it on and you're kind of, put it back. If you don't absolutely love it, just put it back. So don't let it go home like that. My mom used to do a thing with this too. She lived in a very tiny little space, and so anytime she had something, she'd go and buy something, she'd think about what she had to get rid of in order to bring that new something home. And sometimes that changed her mind very quickly. So think about what you're going to replace with these things. So always pace yourself. So now it's time to declutter your life. Remember that Rome was not built in a day. It's going to take time to do this project. So devise a plan. These packets have great tools in there to help you actually devise a plan that works for you. Everything's not going to work the same for every person. So these have all these little tools and things that'll help you do that. So take on one task at a time, just little bit by bit, and think about what the organized you looks like. What does your house look like, or what does your office space look like when you're completely all done? Does everything have a place? Is everything labeled? What does it look like exactly? And what are your end goals for being organized? What do you want to see happen to your things? Do you care? Do you just want a clean start? Do you want to just clean everything out? What do you want to do? One of the other stories that I tell is I worked with one little gal, and her husband retired after having a long career, and he retired, and she said, I don't know what I'm going to do. He's going to drive me nuts. He came home and he has ruined my world because he is retired and I'm not used to having him here all the time, and he started adding all these books and all my stuff is all disarrayed, and so we started working on cluttering, and he started seeing what she was doing, and she said, I don't know how to tell him how to declutter his books. He is just driving me nuts. And I said, you start showing him what you're doing, and all of a sudden he started seeing how peaceful she was and that all of her stuff had a place. And she called me not long after, and she said, you would not believe it. He has got boxes and boxes of books boxed up to take to the library, and he's gone through all of this, and this is just amazing. I didn't think that this would work. But when people start seeing how relaxed you are and how easygoing things are, the decluttering process will work a lot better. So involve a friend. That's one of the big things. Sometimes decluttering requires an extra person. Get somebody with an unbiased opinion to help you when you just can't decide on stuff. Don't get the person that wants the item, though, because they're going to tell you oh yeah, you got to get rid of it. So, but the other thing that you need to do is ask yourself some questions. When was the last time I wore this? Usually closets are a really good place to start the declutter process because we all have a lot of clothes or a lot of things in closets. So think about the last time you wore it. If it's been months, years, or decades, you deserve new when it's time to grab onto it. One of the tricks that we use in my closet, all of my clothes are in my closet. I don't change them out for seasons or anything. But what I do is I put my hangers backwards on my rack. So when I'm getting ready to start wearing sweaters in the winter, I will start grabbing those sweaters off the hangers and I'll flip the hanger back the other direction. So at the end of winter, when I look in my closet and I notice that I've got all these hangers that are going this way, I haven't worn any of those clothes for the season, and it is okay to let those go. So, one thing, would this item help someone get a job, build a home, entertain a kid? By you keeping it, you're keeping them from some type of enjoyment. How's that for a little guilt? I actually guilted my mom, which was way fun. So my mom was a very professional person in her professional life, and she had really nice suits. And they were just hanging in her closet, and they were taking up room. And I said, why don't you give them to, she lives up in Coeur d'Alene, and I said, why don't you give them to Union Gospel Mission, because the gals there, they go for job interviews, and they need nice suits for these job interviews, and they were really nice suits. And I said, you're actually keeping them from finding a job by not giving them your suits. I cannot believe you. You are not the mother I've raised. It was a lot of fun. So if you forgot that you even owned it, you really don't need it. That's another thing. If you just don't even remember it. So in your packets, this is what I was talking about before, there is a take control of your clutter, and what that does is it helps you identify what areas you really need to work on. And then there is a tackling the clutter part that is an actual clutter control plan. So it's helping you think of different ways to reduce that clutter. One of the other things here, and I wish that this was a different name, I'm sorry that it isn't. I did not name this, but it's pretty cool. You can either go online and get this, or you can email me and I'll send you my copy. But it's from So Damn Domestic, and it's the 30-day clutter-free countdown starter kit. And it's really quite cool. It's absolutely free, and what it does is it just tells you exactly how to declutter your house. So 30-day clutter-free countdown starter kit. So Damn Domestic. So, or email me and I'll send it to you. But one of the things that we need to do is we need to think about the 4-box plus 1 method. So these are the 4 boxes, and really the keep box shouldn't be a box. So there's the 5th box. So when you're thinking about the things that you need to do, when you're going through the process, you need to think about the stuff that you want to donate or give away, the stuff that you want to relocate or file, the stuff that you want to throw away, stuff that you want to keep, and stuff that you need to shred. A lot of times what happens is folks start throwing stuff away and they get really excited about throwing stuff away. We're also going to be doing an identity theft tea time talk at the end of August, so definitely come to that one too, because it tells you exactly what you need to keep and how you need to protect yourself too. So make a storage system that fits your life. So we're going to go back to this one a little bit. So when you're going through things, rule of thumb here, touch stuff once. When you are getting ready to go into and start, say we're going to clean a closet, and we're going to clean a closet, and it is a closet that has books, it's got old clothes, it's got old toys and stuff like that. Pick the item up, look at it, ask yourself, does this give me joy? Does it have a good memory for me? Do I need to keep it? If you cannot answer yes to any of those questions, then you need to donate it, relocate it, or trash it. You don't keep it. If it doesn't give you joy, you need to let it go. So, but only touch things once, because a lot of times what happens is we pick things up and we look at it and think, I'll decide later. And then it goes into another pile. And then that pile starts getting bigger and bigger. So make a storage system that fits your life. Everything is not going to be the same for everybody. I have a storage closet in my house, and it has all sorts of things. The only thing that you should really be storing are possibly clothes and maybe seasonal decorations, keepsakes, stuff like that. But you really shouldn't be storing lots and lots of stuff. If you're not using it, if it's not part of your daily life, really think about why you're keeping it and if it's necessary. But find a system that works for you. My system, all my little storage, I've got all the little storage tubs, and they're all labeled. So I know where my Christmas decorations are at. I can go in there and pull those out, and I'm done with it. I don't have to go through every single one of them. Same thing in your garage. If you do that, you're going in there, you're getting the stuff that you need, and you pull it out. Use the storage devices that fit your systems. Sometimes storage, you need to store stuff under a bed or someplace else. Keep it simple. If you come up with a plan that is so difficult and you've got all these storage containers built up here, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, dang, I've got to go through all that stuff, and I've got to fill all the storage containers, I've got to label all of them, it's just so overwhelming that you won't do it. Decide to decide. Make the decision, follow through, and donate. A lot of times, and everybody will ask me this question, when I get my bag of clothes ready to take to Goodwill, or my toys ready to take wherever I'm taking them, how long should I keep them? And I said, you should take them that day. So I have people that say, well, I don't know about the clothes, so I might decide I want something in that bag. If you have thrown it away in that bag, and that thought has passed your mind, it is best if you actually take that bag that day, because I can guarantee that you'll start ratting through that bag, and half those clothes will go back into your closet. So your declutter process is just gone. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say that I do a little volunteer work at thrift stores in the community. We have the Salvation Army go out of business, so some of the stores are getting a lot more donations than they can handle, and they're understaffed. I'm doing volunteer work for some of them. So I would ask you, if you're going to do this systematic decluttering, and I love this, thank you so much for giving this to the community. You might want to do a little homework if you have time, and if the Spirit leads you to, ask the thrift stores what they need.
Absolutely.
Do you need clothes? I do know that clothing can be bundled up and shipped for reuse to another nation, or maybe they're going to make rugs out of it or something. You can ask them, what do you do with this stuff if a surplus happens to appear? I'm sorry to say, I see a lot of the stuff that I have put into thrift stores go in the trash. I got in the back room, I started volunteering at a thrift store, and they trash a lot of stuff. So not everything you put in the box for the thrift store is going to be put on the shelves. So you might want to do a little homework and ask the thrift stores what they're going to be doing with this stuff and what they need.
That is a very good point. Thank you for that. That is a very good point. And there's so many different places. So it doesn't even have to be a thrift store. If you have a bunch of toys, a bunch of old toys, you could go to child care facilities, and they are always needing new toys, and they love those donations. If you have books that you don't know what to do with the books, go to the library. Go to the University of Idaho's library. If you have old pictures and stuff that you don't know what to do with those, you can go to the Historical Society, and the Historical Society will take them and take really good care of them. So there's all sorts of different things that you can do with the stuff that you don't necessarily need anymore, but somebody else might get a lot of enjoyment and good out of it.
Do you have a list of places locally we can donate?
Absolutely. I don't have it all written up, but I can get it for you.
Okay.
So just send me an email.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, we have all sorts of different places. So there's a really good guy to get in contact with. I gave his name last time too. So his name is Richard Old, and he is actually an estate sales person. And so he knows all these different places that you can donate your things to. And so his email address is rold@pullman.com. And so he has all these different resources that he works with. And if you have a ton of stuff, the great thing about him is if you've got a storage unit that you're terrified of and you're not quite sure what to do with it, go in, pick the things out that you want to pick out. He will go in there and he'll pay you for your storage unit and then clean it out for you. So, and then take all your stuff where it needs to go, if you're at that point.
Can that person
Yes.
help you actually, put on, is there places or people like him that can help you put it online? Because I need to pay, my things that are of value, anything of value, I need to help pay for massive amount of doctor bills and travels to the doctor.
You can definitely ask him. This is one of the things that he does for business, so he usually gets
He gets a
some money.
percentage
Yeah,
of if he can sell it for
yeah, you can ask him.
Right.
I can't answer that
I
for
know
him.
they have people that
but
can do that.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody that can do that for you, but he would be a really good place to start.
Okay.
So I bet he would know the answer for you.
So
He's a
our
great
old
guy.
is one word?
I'm sorry?
Our old is one word?
Yeah, are old. He says he's every woman's dream. He's rich and he's old.
Is it a capital
So
R? Is it a capital R or a small R?
It's just a little R. Yeah, are old. So ask for help if you need help. This is the best thing is to ask for help. Organize year round because it is a constant thing that you have to do. So, am I losing you? Okay. Yeah. So, definitely more specific ideas here. Definitely focus on one room at a time, and think really hard when you're having a hard time deciding, or your emotions are starting to take over when you're going through all of your things. Definitely stop. That's not the time to be doing the decluttering. Really, if you've sat down and you've watched all the Hallmark movies and you're sassy and you're bake me a cake and bring it to me, that's okay. But don't declutter then. So go through your mail daily. Always make sure that you're doing that. Make sure that you're saving, that you're setting a limit on how many bags you're saving and food containers and boxes. This seems like a really weird one to add to this, but a lot of times what we do is we save all of our plastic bags to reuse them and stuff like that, our food containers. We get so many of them that they become clutter and we don't know quite what to do with them. So with the food containers, you can actually take them to the senior center, and the senior center will take them and they will actually put the senior meals in those food containers. We also use bags for mailing. You can put plastic bags around mailing or garbage bags. Get rid of the old when you buy the new. Definitely pare down mementos. A lot of times what we can do is if we have a lot of mementos, we can take pictures of them and just save the picture as opposed to saving the memento. And that's one thing that helps with the clutter. You can also declutter simply by having a video library on your computer as opposed to having lots and lots of photo albums and everything that are setting out and getting old. Consider making a daily or bi-weekly uncluttering appointment. If you do this all the time, you're going to just keep up with everything. So these, we can read all of these. I'll just go really quick through them. Make your bed. Toss the newspaper. If you haven't read it, that's okay. Make sure that you're recycling it. Do a chore. Making sure that you do a chore that takes less than 1 minute. I learned really early on that you always make sure that you have 2 things in your hands. So if you're picking up a toy with one hand, pick up the dinner dish with the other hand. Always have something in both hands as you're making one trip. It saves a lot on the clutter if you're constantly doing more than just one thing. Throw away the junk mail, put your dirty socks in the hamper, hang up the wet towel, do all these little things. They've done studies too that they found that if you go to bed with a messy house, it actually sets the tone the next morning and you're stressed the next morning because your house is not clutter free. Beware of freebies. Get rid of the things when they break. Hang up your coat before you go to bed. Take a couple minutes to get rid of stuff. Sort and classify stuff, things that go together, put them together. Clean out constantly. When you keep the good things that, or the bad things that you don't use anymore, they get in the way of the things that you could be getting. Label everything. Identify an organization or a person that might get better use from something. Pause for a moment before you store something. Create a daily to-do list and prioritize. Assign objects to specific places, then you will no longer have to hunt for things because you forgot where they were. So early on, one of the things that I did with my family is I have a 6-year-old, and when he was about 2, I taught him how to sort clothes. I did, and I taught my husband too. It was awesome. I did it both in the same shot. So I bought 13-gallon garbage cans. The kitchen garbage cans, I bought 4 of them, and I drew a picture on the front of each of the garbage cans. So we had our pants on one, we had our undies on the other, we had our shirts on the other, and they knew exactly which bin that they went in. A 13-gallon garbage can is exactly 1 load in a standard washing machine. So when that garbage can got full, we'd just take it and dump it in the washer, and it was all good. They learned how to sort their clothes, and it saved on a lot of time. That's a clutter, because it's a constant clutter that's always happening. So deciding what to keep. You only keep the stuff that brings you pleasure, that enhances your life, and the things that you use regularly or need. So think about what you would do if you had to replace everything. And if you had to replace everything, I can't live in this house, and it always amazes me when people start talking about big adults and their kids and their dogs and everything moving into these. I want them to do a reunion of these folks after the fact and show us where they are now. But just think about all the stuff that you're keeping. And the stuff that you don't want, the good stuff that needs to go someplace else, take it to family and friends and see if they want it. Take it to consignment shops, have yard sales and garage sales, the charitable organizations, Craigslist, Facebook, all these different companies, the internet auctions like eBay. There's all sorts of different places that you can actually sell your stuff, that you can get more money out of the things. So, and being organized, you're going to be more in control. You'll have more time for yourself and your loved ones. You're not going to spend so much time dusting your clutter and organizing it. You're going to feel good about the environment that you're in. You're going to be a very good role model for others. Just like my little gal that had the retired husband, she was a very good role model for him because he was seeing the necessity of being a little bit more organized. You're definitely going to be healthier because you're not dealing with that stress. You're going to save money because you're not constantly buying things to replace the stuff that you can't find. And you're going to be able to set and achieve goals simply because you're not going to be so cluttered with the ideas that you're thinking about clutter all the time. So these are the 10 laws of stuff. The more you have, the more you need. You can think about that in anything that we do. If we get a bigger house, we need more furniture to fill that house. So if you have more, you're going to need more. Useless stuff crowds out the good stuff. So if you constantly have stuff, remember that we only use about 20% of the stuff that we own. Dirt and bugs love stuff. Stuff stays where you put it. Stuff multiplies to fill the spaces that you have. Over time, you don't see your stuff, like our little guy with the washer and dryer in the storage unit. When you have a lot of stuff, you pay over and over again for it, simply because you're constantly, you need to pay for the space to keep it. Stuff affects your mental health, and stuff is valuable only if you use it. And the last one is stuff cannot buy happiness. It really can't. So as Albert Einstein wrote, out of clutter, find simplicity. I'm not telling you guys to go home and annihilate all of your things and put them out on the sidewalk. What I'm telling you is that if we downsize things and really look at our things to see if they bring us joy and they actually enhance our lives, we'll feel better about our environments that we're in. So that is our clutter class. We went over a couple minutes, but we had really good questions, so that was awesome. Does anybody else have any